Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Radiantly Feminine podcast. On today's episode, we are going to talk about how to shut down disrespect with class. And I thought this was the perfect episode because the last episode we talked about dealing with jealous friends. A lot of times when we notice that people are showcasing jealousy towards us, they will often do that as disrespect. So I thought it would be a perfect episode to follow up with when you are dealing with disrespect, even if it has nothing to do with jealousy or little to do with jealousy. I think that every feminine woman should know how to handle disrespect in a classy and feminine way. And also, I do think that it's so easy that when you are trying to embrace your feminine energy, it's so easy to confuse being feminine with being passive because we think, oh, we're not supposed to be aggressive. Oh, we're not supposed to engage in certain things because it's going to deplete us of our feminine energy. And I want to assure you guys that is definitely not the case. I do not want you guys out here being passive and pretend like you don't see things or being quiet to protect your feminine energy. That's not what being feminine is about. And this episode is also important because I want you guys to know that respect starts with self-respect. You have to respect yourself in order for other people to know that you are a respectable person. You have to respect yourself in order to see what respecting you looks like. You have to respect yourself if you want to show people how to treat you. You have to respect yourself in order to expect respect. Now, I think that it's very easy, again, to confuse femininity with passivity, but also we are prone to accept disrespect when we fear conflict. We are fearful of rubbing people the wrong way or being seen in a negative light. We are fearful of just bringing up conflict. And a lot of the times that can cause us to become avoidant. We avoid talking about things. We avoid having hard conversations. We avoid bringing things up that are bothering us. We avoid confronting disrespectful actions and disrespectful words. And we can also do this because, again, we fear being perceived in a negative light. We think that we're going to not be likable or whoever we're confronting is not going to like us any longer. And I want to just be the first to tell you that if you haven't heard this before, I want to be the first to tell you that if they don't like you for calling out their disrespect, that is not somebody you want in your corner. That is not somebody you want around you. You want somebody that's capable of respecting you. But again, you have to do this. You have to take the first big step and start respecting yourself first. And then you also have to be okay with people not liking you because, again, some people are not going to like that you call out their disrespect, and they are going to be uncomfortable with having those conversations or those hard conversations because that's not something that they've addressed on their end. So you have to be okay with people not liking you for speaking up about things. And then we can also we can also be prone to tolerate disrespect when we are conditioned to do this. So we are basically from a young age is sometimes as women we will be conditioned to put other people's needs above our own and just be very self-serving, but to the point where we are abandoning ourselves. And for a lot of us, I'm pretty sure, for some women, we learn that at a very young age because we learned that that's what a good girl is. And if you haven't listened to my previous episode, I talked about removing the good girl label. And a part of that was just realizing that we are doing things because we were conditioned to think this way from a very young age. So if you are somebody who is struggling with confronting disrespect, or you just have a hard time understanding how you can handle disrespect in a classy way, I want you to listen to these steps that I'm about to name. First, you have to stop fearing conflict. Fearing conflict is going to make you avoidant. So you're really going to avoid those hard conversations. You are going to go out of your way to avoid those hard conversations. You are going to go out of your way to avoid causing conflict, causing friction. And I don't want you to be afraid of that because that fear is actually what's going to deplete you of your feminine energy and not you actually bringing these things up. Now, when you do bring these things up, I want you to do it from a calm place. I don't want you to do this from an emotionally reactive place. I want you to actually confront the person at a time that's convenient for both of you. So for me, what I like to do is I will text the person usually and say, hey, is this a good time for us to talk? Or I want to get some things off my chest. Can we go to dinner, or can we establish a time for us to have a call? And that just lays the foundation for a smooth hard conversation, because it's letting them know that, hey, I have something I want to talk about, and this is not going to be your average casual conversation. Like, this is going to be a heavy topic. And then what I like to do as well, and I mentioned this probably in the last episode or a few episodes ago, I mentioned that I try to avoid using you statements. And I just had this conversation with my cousin because she asked for my advice. But I told her that when you were saying you a lot and you were using you statements rather than I statements, that can basically make somebody feel like they're under attack, especially if they have a hard time taking accountability. And this is something that I'm trying to work on as well, because again, I can say these things over text. Like, I can say I feel this way. When this happens, I feel this way, something like that. I find it a lot easier because I'm able to read over my text messages. And when I'm talking in person, I do have to remember to slow down and think about what I'm saying before I actually say it. So sometimes I will catch myself when I'm saying, you did this, or you made me feel this way, instead of simply saying, I felt this way, because I have to own my own feelings. And I want you guys to get comfortable with doing that as well. You have to own your own feelings, because what somebody did, yes, it's wrong if they were disrespecting you, but if they did it, they're not responsible for your emotions or your reaction to it. They are only responsible for things on their end. So you want to take responsibility for your emotions and how you're feeling about it. But you also do want to call out the things that are bothering you, or the things that cause those emotions. So when you're using I statements, you're taking ownership of your emotions, but you're not attacking them and saying, you made me feel this way, so it's your fault. You're separating the two simply by just using I statements. And then again, I do want you to let go of the fear of being liked. You have to remember, or you have to just acknowledge that people are not going to like you when you call out things that they've done or that they've said, especially if they have a hard time taking accountability. But at the end of the day, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that they don't like taking accountability. It's not your fault that they have a hard time looking at their reflection. It's not your fault that they are having a hard time digesting what you're telling them. As long as you're doing your part and having healthy communication skills on your end, and you're communicating that something is bothering you, you need to let go of the fear of being disliked, because it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. Not everybody is going to dislike you for saying the honest truth, but you will rub some people the wrong way, and that's just the truth of the matter. Now, I want to say that I'm very good at pattern recognition. So I have become very privy to learning how to spot disrespect early on. So these signs that I'm about to share, they are early signs, but they are still disrespect. I don't want you to confuse that. Sometimes I think we can let go of the smaller things because it's small. It's easier to minimize. But what I'm going to say, they are disrespect, but they are just small forms of disrespect. So backhanded compliments is going to be the first one. Backhanded compliments are going to be things that sound like they're supposed to be nice, but they rub you the wrong way, or they are basically insulting you and complimenting you all in the same breath. Another form of disrespect, an early sign of disrespect is interruptions. When somebody interrupts you, they are subtly showing you that they do not respect you. A respectful person is going to take the time to let you speak and not interrupt you. They are going to be conscious of how their actions affect you. So if they are constantly interrupting you, and I got called out for this and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But that is a subtle sign that somebody doesn't respect you. When you notice that people respect one another, they will wait their turn. They will be conscious of how their actions affect the people around them. And we're not perfect. That's why I'm saying, like, I got called out for this because I was interrupting, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I literally realized I was doing it and I did not stop myself. But I say this thing, we are not perfect, but these are things that you can work on if you do find yourself doing these things. But again, these are subtle signs of disrespect. So the subtle signs, they're early signs of disrespect. So you do want to keep an eye out for these things if people are doing this, because it could be a subtle sign that they do not respect you. And then another early sign of disrespect is dismissing. They dismiss you, especially when you bring up concerns. They dismiss you, or they try to deflect things onto you. They are showing you that they do not respect you. And a lot of the times when we are faced with disrespect, it has little to nothing to do with us. Disrespect completely comes from the other person's end, where they are just not being considerate of how their actions or words are affecting us. And a lot of the times that can stem from lack of self-awareness. When somebody is not self-aware or does not have a high level of self-awareness, then they are going to not really reflect. They are not going to look at how their actions and their words and their behaviors affect other people, because they are more so focused on themselves and they can't see things outside of themselves. So that's where disrespect stems from. And again, I should be saying this in every episode, but I am not a professional. I'm not a therapist or anything like that. I am simply speaking from learned experiences. I have gone through a lot of hard lessons. So when somebody is disrespectful, I do believe that that comes from a lack of self-awareness. So again, they will be dismissive. They will deflect things onto you when you bring up concerns, especially when you bring up concerns. They will literally deflect things and make you out to be the problem for calling out their behavior. So again, they will be dismissive and they will try to minimize the things because again, they have a hard time taking accountability. So they will not want to take care of that or handle the issue in real time because they are having a hard time reflecting on what they did because it goes against the narrative that they put on themselves or the way that they perceive themselves. So when somebody perceives themselves in a good light and you bring up a concern that goes against that, they will deny it. They will dismiss it. They will deflect it because they do not want to see that because it again goes against the narrative that they have built against themselves or it tears down their self-perception of them being a good person. Another early sign that, and this is less subtle, but this is an early sign that somebody does not respect you or does not have respect for you is they repeatedly cross your boundaries. You are constantly having to put consequences up for them dismissing your boundaries or crossing your boundaries, or you are constantly repeating yourself when it comes to your boundaries. That is a telltale sign that they do not respect you. And again, it's not something that you have to take personally. It's literally has everything to do with them and little to nothing to do with you. So what can we do when we find ourselves facing disrespect in real time? I have some phrases that I like to use because sometimes I have a hard time wrapping my mind around somebody disrespecting me. I will give people excuses, and that's just something that I've learned to do habitually. So I will sometimes give people excuses and be like, oh, they didn't mean it that way. I don't take things personally, but I also like to see the good in people. But what that does for me is it makes me stop acknowledging their behavior for what it is. It makes me stop accepting them for who they are choosing to show up as. And I keep making excuses. So one thing that I have to get out of is stop making excuses for people and realizing what they're doing and who they are as they are showing it to me. So when somebody is suggesting that I do something or really wants me to do something that I don't want to do and they are not taking no for an answer, I will simply say that doesn't work for me. Just like that. That's the whole sentence. That's front to end. That is it. That doesn't work for me. And that shuts it down right there. Or if somebody is trying to put a narrative on me, as that phrase will work for me as well. And if somebody is giving me a backhanded compliment or is saying something extremely rude, I will say, let's keep things respectful. Or I will say, especially if I'm dealing with a child, especially my child, I will say, if somebody is saying something rude, I will say, how would that sound if you were trying to be nice? And my favorite, my personal favorite, if somebody is turning our conversation into an argument and they are being rude and disrespectful or calling me names or anything like that, I will say, I'm going to end the conversation here. And I will also say, I will not accept being spoken to this way. I do have to end this conversation. And that right there is my favorite. Like, I love saying that to people, like, because it's like hanging up the phone, but in real person, like, I love it. Now, I do want you to know that being passive and being silent are not necessarily the same thing because there is power in silence. Sometimes people do disrespect you in a malicious way where they are trying to get a reaction out of you. So they may not even be aware that they are being malicious. But whatever the case may be, where they feel like they have to be disrespectful towards you, just know that sometimes they deserve your silence, and that's all they can get from you. Because when somebody is going out of their way to disrespect you, to say mean things to you, you have to gauge whether this is worth your time or not. And sometimes, a lot of the times, all they need is your silence. You do not have to engage. You do not have to exert your energy and tell them how upset you are. You do not have to give them any of your emotions. You don't have to give them anything but silence. And that's why I say there is power in silence. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You can literally walk away. I love an Irish goodbye, and this will help you detach in real time. So when you do find yourself being disrespected by the people in your life, especially if you call them close friends or family members or anything like that, I want you to start limiting access. And this is how you start dealing with disrespect. And I'll summarize everything for you guys because I feel like I am saying a lot, but it's very simple when you think about it. This is such a simple way to deal with disrespect. So I'll summarize everything at the end of the episode for you guys. And I also want you to know that repeating your boundaries is not okay. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, respect starts with self-respect. So if you are constantly repeating your boundary after it's constantly being crossed, that means you are not respecting the boundary yourself. And the boundary, if you guys don't know by now, the boundary is there to protect your peace. It's there to protect your energy. It's there to protect you. So if you are allowing people to constantly cross it, even if you find yourself giving them multiple warnings, you are still disrespecting the boundary. So what I want you to do is limit the amount of warnings you give. When somebody starts crossing your boundaries repeatedly, give them consequences. Don't give them warnings. Give them consequences. And then lastly, I want you to decide that choosing peace is way more important. It's way better to just choose peace rather than just proving a point. Because you can explain yourself and you can keep explaining yourself, but you will fall into over explaining when you are explaining to the wrong people. Because sometimes people will be committed to misunderstanding you. Sometimes a person's lack of self-awareness will not allow them to see things from your perspective. So when you've explained yourself and you keep explaining yourself, I want you to take a step back and decide that you are wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, and you are wasting your breath. And sometimes you just need to put the boundary up and walk away. But yes, protecting your energy is the whole purpose of dealing with disrespect with class. So those are the things that you can do to protect your energy. Moving forward after disrespect is really important. I don't want you ruminating over the fact that you were disrespected. I do want you to process how you felt about it, but I don't want you to ruminate on it over and over and over again, because that's not going to be healthy. And you are low-key giving that person your energy when you keep revisiting the situation. So I want you to establish new standards. I want you to establish higher standards so you don't have to deal with that again. I want you to learn the lesson the first time. And I'm saying this because I'm somebody who didn't learn the lesson the first time. So it's very important that you do try to learn the lessons from the hard things that you endure, so that way you can level up. And you level up by simply just establishing higher standards after you endure a hard lesson. Once you create higher standards and you decide to protect your boundary by walking away or limiting access or whatever the case may be, you will have stronger boundaries as a result of that. But I do want you to keep in mind that you are constantly going to have to enforce your boundaries with new people, with old people. That's not something that's ever going to let up. But the more you enforce it, the stronger they become. Then you will become more untouchable just by enforcing your boundaries and having higher standards. You will become untouchable, and you will also develop a better sense of emotional maturity when you learn how to handle disrespect in a classy way. So I want to challenge you all to try one of these things, especially if you have somebody in your life that's disrespecting you. I want you to take one of these things from this episode. And again, I will summarize it in just a second, but I want you to take one of the things that I mentioned in this episode to try and handle disrespect in a classy way. Again, I don't want you to focus on why somebody is being disrespectful. I don't want you to ruminate on the things that they said to you. I want you to handle it in a classy way, and you do this by staying calm. And if you choose to address it, do it from a calm place, not a reactive place. So let your emotions settle down, because if you don't do that, your emotions will be running the show, and you will most likely be using you statements and not really get your point across the way you want to. So do it from a calm place. And if you don't address it, that's okay, because we don't want to over explain, because that means we are giving away our energy, our feminine energy. So remember that there is power in silence, and it's completely okay to walk away from things without saying anything after being disrespected. And choose to limit access when somebody is disrespecting you, because they are literally telling you that they do not deserve access to you if they are disrespecting you, especially if they are constantly doing it. They're telling you that they do not have the self-awareness and they do not have the capacity to handle you in a respectful manner. So take them as they are. Don't make excuses for them. And accept them for who they are. Don't hope that they will change because you're just basing the relationship off of potential at that point. So just accept them as they are and move accordingly. So I hope the things that I talked about in this episode help you guys. Let me know in the comments if you guys are experiencing this, or if you want to learn more ways for how to handle this. Let me know. I am down to have a conversation in the comments. So yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I love you so much for being here. And if you haven't, go check out my last episode, because we talked about something similar to this, which was dealing with jealousy and friendships. I also want you guys to make sure you stay tuned for next week's episode. Well, the next few episodes, because we are going to be talking about structured routines and how to just romanticize your life when life seems to be boring or there's just not much going on. I'm going to be showing you guys, if you follow me on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to be showing you guys what I like to do to romanticize my evenings, my mornings, my reset days, all of that. But I will also be talking about it. If you guys just want to listen to the audio, that is completely fine. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. And before we go, I just want to leave you with this. Class is not about staying quiet. It's about staying in control. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.